Hello there, Dr. Bill Crawford here, psychologist, speaker, author of 8 books, host of 2 PBS specials, here again to bring you another tip on how to help you create the life you want. Specifically, how to use my life from the top of the mind philosophy to bring more clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do. Today I want to look at the concept of what we kind of let stand, what we pretend not to know, what we don't really address when it really needs to be addressed. There's a quote that I'm sending out to those 6,000 folks on my quote list. By the way, if you'd like to receive one of my favorite quotes each week along with 2 or 3 paragraphs and a video about how to apply that quote to life, all you got to do is go to my website, billcrawfordphd.com, or just Google Bill Crawford Ph.D. I'll come up on the first page. Hit the subscribe button. It's free. Put your name, email address in, and each week I'll send you one of these videos, one of these quotes. So this is one of mine. It's kind of short. It basically says, what we condone, we codify. I looked up codify, and it means kind of basically create a system, a rules, a way of being, a norm. And I think what we have to be careful about is what we let stand, what we condone becomes the norm. Now, I think that's important to look at in our families, in our organizations, in our friendships, because if we kind of just don't address things that really need to be addressed, if we don't talk to people in a way where we're able to and they're able to change their behavior, thoughts, ways of being in a way that's congruent with the values of the organization, of the family, of the friendship, then what happens is that incongruent way of being, that problematic way of being, becomes part of the norm. We codify it in a sense. Now, I do think that it's really important for us to look at ourselves first. Because if we just go around telling everybody how they're not doing it right, chances are they won't say, thank you for sharing, I feel so much better now. They'll get resistant and they'll actually start defending the very behavior we want them to change. Plus, when we're not being consistent in terms of our own values, then trying to tell somebody else how they're supposed to be comes across as arrogant and inauthentic, and it doesn't work. So what I encourage us to do is to look at the neuroscience of the qualities and characteristics we're bringing to life. For those of you who follow my life from the top of the mind philosophy, you know we've got these 3 parts to the brain. Lower part of the brain is called the brainstem, the fight or flight part. Upper 80% of the brain, the neocortex, I call the top of the mind. This is where we have access to our interpersonal skills, problem-solving skills, clarity, confidence, creativity, compassion, etc. And the middle brain, the limbic system, that part of the brain acts as a gatekeeper. It scans incoming data, interprets it, and then either routes it down to the brainstem or up to the upper 80% of the brain, the neocortex. So the problem is, when we are seeing people being a way that's incongruent with our values, or when we are being a way that's incongruent with our values, this limbic system interprets that as negative and throws us into that lower brain where we become more frustrated, more angry, either at ourselves or others, more resistant, more problematic. And that is a problem because we get trapped down there. And then, again, if we're trying to talk with someone else and we're telling them how they're doing it wrong, we actually throw them into that resistant brain, and that's where they start resisting change. So I suggest we get really clear, what are the qualities and characteristics I'm committing to bringing to life? What would I teach to someone I love? Who am I at my best? I encourage those I work with to make a list of 20 qualities or characteristics of you at your best. Because what that does is it really brings some clarity to the concept of what do we want to bring to life. And the reason I go for 20 is it really kind of overwhelms this belief that somehow we're not that good, or there's something wrong with me, or I can't trust my own judgment, that kind of stuff. Once you have your 20 qualities or characteristics, then what we want to do is take 100% responsibility for bringing those to life. So rather than just kind of letting some sort of negative comment or snarky comment or accusation or negative behavior slide, which if we let it slide, we condone it and we codify it, I suggest we go, wait a minute. Okay, that's incongruent with who I am. This is not something I would teach to someone I love. And we begin to shift to, okay, so if I were choosing a behavior, a way of being that is congruent with who I am at my best, that I would teach to someone I love, what would that look like? That has us taking 100% responsibility for our ability to respond, or 100% responsibility for the qualities and characteristics we are bringing to life. That's really important because it has us coming from the more purposeful, 100% responsible part of the brain where we respond versus the reactive brain where we react. And that allows us to not only kind of be congruent if we're kind of going to call out qualities and characteristics in our organization, our family, or friendships that aren't serving us, it at least lets us own our own so that when we begin to address others, at least we're coming from a place of authenticity. We're not just saying, okay, yeah, do as I say, not as I do. Yeah, you need to change, but I don't, I'm okay, but you need serious professional help, In other words, we're not making them the problem or their behavior the problem. So what I like to do is make sure I'm bringing these qualities and characteristics to life, and then I like to address someone, getting them to maybe look at theirs in a way that they will hear as valuable. There's a tendency when we're trying to get other people to change is to basically tell them what they're doing wrong. And again, that throws them into that lower resistant brain, and they do not hear that as good information. But if we can ask ourselves the question, okay, how would their changing and adopting more of the qualities and characteristics that are congruent with what we want in our organization, our family, our friendship, our relationship, how would that be valuable to them? That's what we really got to ask ourselves. Now, the ability to engage someone and actually talk to them in a way where they truly hear what we're wanting them to hear is a whole nother set of skills. In my book, I've got 3 parts to my system, Life from the Top of the Mind. Number 1 is how do you shift to this clear, confident, creative part of the brain. Number 2, how do you stay there? How do you live there so we don't find ourselves falling back down into the brainstem every time we find ourselves dealing with another person or situation? And number 3, how do you get other people to shift from their resistant brain to their receptive brain so they truly hear and understand what you're wanting them to know? This is what I do. I get to go around the world teaching people my system, teaching people to get to that top of the mind, how to stay there, and then how to engage others. So if you want to be more clear, confident, and creative in your life, if you want to be more influential in your life, I encourage you to take more responsibility for what we are codifying, what we are willing to accept in terms of our own behavior. Make sure we're making those purposeful changes. And then if you want my help in helping you get this across to others so that they hear it as valuable, I would be happy to do that. All you got to do is go to my website, BillCrawfordPhD.com, hit the contact button, let me know what you're interested in. Love to come to your organization, teach everybody how to do this, or just help you as an individual. Hope this is helpful. In the meantime, until next time, here's to you bringing more clarity about what's really important so we don't let those negative behaviors just slide and become part of our culture or our way of being. More clarity, confidence, creativity into everything you do, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.